What's up, Table Rock Fishing Intel Pro members? First off, thanks for being pro members, pro subscribers, Table Rock Fishing Intel. It does help us to do what we need to do to help you find and catch more fish on Table Rock. It is Wednesday, December the 6th. Fished about 4 or 5 days this past week. One day was trout, so that doesn't really count. Off today, so I figured I'd knock this out for you guys before the weekend. Got a lot of good bites going on right now. I say a lot. There's 3 real solid bites and 1 bite that I've heard of, but I haven't really gone out and tried. May try that this week or later this weekend, see if I can get bit on it as well. But got some real solid bites, and fish are biting all over the lake. It doesn't seem to matter if it's down by the dam or anywhere else. Talk to the guys. If you guys are using your pro membership, you probably saw the results and the interviews with the guys who did well in the Oak Outdoors over the weekend. Guys were fishing all over the lake. Guys are catching fish all over the lake. Some of the stuff you didn't hear were the guys that finished a little bit further down the pack, and there were certainly guys that caught them at the dam, guys caught them up the White, up the James, and even in the mid-lake area. So we got some bites that are working. What's interesting is that the same bites seem to be working all over the lake. It's just a matter of dialing in, what part of the lake and finding the bait, finding the fish. As far as our lake level, we're at what are we at? 911.79, which puts us 3.21 feet below normal winter pool, since we're now clocking in at winter pool, I guess, at 9:15 according to the Corps. Water temperature 56, 57. I'd like to see it a little bit cooler to get the deep bite a little bit more consistent all over the lake, but it has started. But we got some cold weather coming over the weekend. Might have a chance for snow on Sunday night into Monday, so that could certainly cool that water temperature down and get things happening all over the lake once we get there. But if you guys are coming down, you're going to fish the lower end of the lake, good bite on the lower end. There's a lot of guys who did decent in the Oak Outdoors who fished the lower end of the lake. It's going to sound real repetitive, the bites I'm going to tell you guys about, because the same bites are working pretty much all over the lake. There is a deep bite down by the dam. Most of the fish are coming back in the creeks, about half to 3/4 of the way back in the creeks. Not necessarily around timber, they're primarily around shad. And that's going to be a common theme on the lake right now, is finding shad. If you can find schools of shad, no matter which of the patterns we're going to talk about, you're going to get more bites than if you go into a creek that doesn't have shad but has fish. Spent a lot of time last week trying to work fish that did not want to bite without any shad around. As soon as I went into an area that had some shad, even if the fish weren't on the shad, got a lot more bites, got bit a lot faster, and had a lot better bite going. As far as the deep bite, what do you want to throw? You can throw a drop shot rig, scuba spoon, jigging wrap, LS spin, Damiki rig, whatever you like to throw deep. Right now, if you can find fish around the shad, you're definitely going to get bit. If you look at the results from the Oak Outdoors, the majority of the guys were catching their fish, not necessarily out deep, but deeper around schools of shad. So keep that in mind. There's definitely a deep bite down by the dam. There's a jig bite down by the dam as well, mostly on a smaller jig or a shaky head or a tube. And most of those fish are coming 12 to about 20, 25 foot deep. Mixed gravel and rock points, but the key to that bite, the absolute key to that bite, is having some wood cover. Whether it is brush piles, standing timber, lay down, some sort of wood cover is really holding the fish right now. So look for spots that have brush piles, look for spots that have standing timber. Those are going to hold a lot more fish, and you can certainly catch some fish on a jig or a shaky head right now. Final bite, if you've got wind, and we're going to have wind this weekend. If you've got wind, the crankbait bite, wigglewort, rock crawler, both of those are working really well. Channel swing type banks, the ends of those channel swing type banks, 45-degree chunk rock banks, all those typical crankbait banks that we like to fish. Get up there, parallel those banks from the bank out to about 10 foot deep, and just cover water, and you will catch some fish doing that as well. Going to the mid-lake area, the same 3 bites are working in the mid-lake area that are working down by the dam. Definitely catching them deep. The key again is finding shad. If you find shad, I can tell you last Thursday or Friday I went out. I can't remember which day it was. And I went into 4 different creeks. Didn't get bit in 3 of them. About got my arm broke and caught about 20 fish in the fourth one. And the difference between the fourth one and those first three was shad. I found some shad. If you find the shad in the creeks, if you find the shad out on the points, you're going to get bit. You're going to find these fish. You're going to get bit. The other creeks had fish in them. I spent way too much time working those fish over, trying to get those fish to bite. Wasn't going to happen. Didn't happen. So find shad, get bit, drop shot, Demiki rig, scuba spoon, LS spin, jigging wrap. All those baits are working right now, but you got to find the shad around the fish. Jig bites working in the mid-lake area as well. Jig, shaky head, Ned rig if you're so inclined. 15, well, on a cloudy day you'll find them up as shallow as 10, but let's say 10 to 25 foot deep. Again, standing timber is very important, or brush piles are very important. You got to have some sort of wood or docks. They have been hanging around docks, but if you think about it, most of the docks have brush around them, but they have been hanging around the docks as well. And if you watched Roger Cook's interview from the Oak Outdoors, he keyed on docks the entire time, anywhere from 5-10 foot deep when it was cloudy, all the way out to 25 or 30 foot deep. He was throwing a little bit bigger jig, but the keys were having shad around and having some wood around, brush pile, standing timber, that sort of thing. So if you want to go throw a jig, make sure you got brush, standing timber, and some shad around. Crankbait bites working in the mid-lake as well, but you got to have wind. If you don't have wind, you're not going to get bit. So look for the wind, chase the wind, hit those channel swing banks, hit the ends of the channel swing banks, hit those 45-degree chunk rock banks. That crankbait bite's probably going to last until we get down close to 50 degrees, then it's going to start to wane. It might even get better, but I would say, I mean, they're calling for some pretty good wind for the next 3 days. I would say the next 3 days throwing a crankbait is going to be an ideal situation to catch quite a few fish on a wigglewort or a rock crawler right now. Go up in the James. Now, the James is not normally known as an area to get a deep bite going in the wintertime, except for the lower end. And it is going on the lower end. Pretty much anything from, I would normally say 0.12 down, but really probably from Piney all the way down. You're going to find fish out there in the main channel. You're going to find fish back into the creeks. Find the fish, find the shad. The nice thing about the James is it is cooling off faster than the rest of the lake. So you're going to find more groups of fish and more groups of shad if you go up into the James and you want to fish deep. The same baits are working, of course. Drop shot, scuba spoon, jigging wrap, LS spin, Demiki rig. All those baits are still going to work up there, but you should find bigger groups of shad and more fish around those shad, especially back in the creeks. You get back in, well, Piney's one for sure. Woolly not so much, but Ants Creek, Little Ants Creek, Jackson Hollow, those sort of places. That's where you're going to start finding the shad grouped up a little bit better, because the water is going to be just a shade cooler with it being stained than you will find down further down the lake. Jig bite, of course, is working great up there, both main lake and secondary. Chunk rock, rock and gravel mix points with wood. Again, if you don't have standing timber, if you don't have brush piles, and you don't have shad close by, it's really tough to get bit. So find some secondary points, main lake points, have a little bit of standing timber or a couple of brush piles on it, and you can certainly catch some fish on a jig. And then, of course, up there, probably the best crankbait bite on the lake, especially when you get wind. Throw a wigglewort or a rock crawler on the ends of channel swings, on chunk rock banks. If it's got wind pounding on it this weekend, should be a really good crankbait bite up the river. So I would certainly look at that. Did talk to a few guys who've been throwing a glide up there as well. They're not getting numbers of fish, but they are starting to catch a little bit better quality fish on a glide. So if you're a glide bait kind of guy, you want to go throw a glide bait, I would certainly key on around wood, especially standing timber or over top of deeper brush piles. Should be able to catch some fish on a glide up there as well. We can go up into the White River, and the White River has all three of the bites going really well. From mouth, or where the White and the James come together, all the way up through Shell Knob, there is a really good deep bite. Again, this deep bite's scattered. You're not going to go into every creek and find them. You're going to want to look for the shad, and I've been spending a lot of time before I even fish. I'll pull into a creek, use my structure scan, and if I don't see some significant groups of shad or a lot of shad, you know, maybe smaller schools, but a lot of different small schools or one big school, I've not even been fishing because it doesn't pay to waste your time to fish where there's no shad around. But back around Baxter, there's some, up in Big Creek, Mill Creek, Hobbs, all the normal spots where we find these shad back in the creeks. There's definitely been shad out there. Plus, there's quite a few out on the main lake, especially around the mouth of Big Creek, around Campbell Point, and even up around Shell Knob. There are a lot of fish and a lot of shad out there on the main lake. So you find the shad, you'll find the fish, and you can certainly get bit with a drop shot, with a Damiki rig, with a scuba spoon, with the LS spin, and with the jigging rap. It's just a matter of finding the fish and the shad together. That bite should get better as things cool off, but it is really starting to kick in. It's just a matter of finding those groups of shad around the fish, and you can get bit doing that. Crankbait bite and the jig bite are both good. Fished up the Kings on Sunday. We caught them pretty good when we had a little bit of wind on a crankbait, mostly on a wiggle wart, channel swing banks, the ends of those channel swings in particular. We're holding some pretty decent fish. The better bite we had, though, was with the jig, because we really didn't have a lot of wind. But again, it's just like everywhere else on the lake. We had to have some standing timber. We had to have some brush piles. We had to have some sort of wood on the bank to catch those fish. We were throwing the Pewee HD Spider jig. I think Hail Mary was our best color, with a green pumpkin crawl on it. And basically fishing from 10 foot out to about 25 foot. Anytime we hit brush, anytime we'd get around a tree, we catch some fish dragging a jig. So definitely have a jig tied on if you're going to go up the White this weekend. Guys, it's December. The deep bite is just now starting to kick on, so we're starting to see quite a few fish coming on a deep bite. I really think after this cold weather this weekend, it's going to really kick in. We're finally catching up. Like I've been saying forever, we're 2 to 3 weeks behind. I think we're finally getting caught up to where we get a little bit more cold weather, and we're going to find these deep fish in more locations. Can find them right now. It just takes a little bit of time, but we drop another 2 to 3 degrees in water temperature, and we're going to certainly find these fish in a lot more locations. If you're struggling with the deep bite, you want to learn the deep bite, you want to get better at the deep bite, now's the time to book a guide trip, to be honest with you. We'll work on how to find the fish, how to find the bait, what areas to look at, how to use your electronics, and what baits to use, and how to use those baits. You can do that all in a 4-hour trip. Right now is the time to book. You get to fish more than just a drop shot. In the summertime, it's basically a drop shot and maybe a spoon. This time of year, you get to fish dang near every deep bite, every deep bait you got in your tackle box. So if you're thinking about hiring a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743 or hit my website, focusfishing.com. Book online or just shoot me an email. Either way, I get back to you as soon as I can. Guys, thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for being a Table Rock Fishing Intel Pro member. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.